Hey everyone, I'm Ermysenigma, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Analysis. Up for analysis today is Gangsterosaurus. Gangsterosaurus is the boss of a mafia that controls the black market of gems. Since his two best monsters on the ground, Gallant and Violet, ran away together, he's doing the dirty work himself. He doesn't play games, so obey him or face your destiny. Wow, just wow, that description. Anyways, this monster, design wise, I absolutely love him. Gangsterosaurus looks so awesome. We have a dinosaur in a suit and tie, a mafia boss, how cool is that? But anyways, as of the time recording this video, there are a total of 25 metal legendary monsters. So in this video, I will be comparing Gangsterosaurus to the remaining 24 legendary metal monsters. And so we start things off with power. A power of 3,234, this actually puts him in 20th place. Not a really high power for metal legendary monsters. A lot of metal monsters tend to be really strong attackers, and a lot of them actually have a power of like 3,575. Like seriously, quite a bit of legendary metal monsters have a power of 3,500 and above. But actually, Gangsterosaurus isn't really too worried about all of the other metal legendary monsters that have a high power, because this monster has a really high life, 31,969. This actually puts him in second place, along with Roxanne. So Gangsterosaurus is extremely tanky. Unfortunately, as is usually the case with tanky monsters, he doesn't have that great of a speed. 3,355, this puts him in 21st place. So overall, Gangsterosaurus has a pretty low power and speed, but a really tanky life. And as for his trait, he's immune to possession, which helps him out against monsters like the Sentinel and Mechamancer, and this also makes this monster usable in team wars involving magic monsters and in some team wars involving dark monsters, so long as the enemy deny monster isn't a Krampus, or someone like Harusamir or Razorface that have an AoE stun. But anyways, moving on to skills, for default we have an offer, you can't refuse. These are the default skills, they're obviously not worth running, so let's move on to the special. La Cosa Nostra Special deals massive metal damage to all enemies, may make all targets bleed. Gangsterosaurus' ultimate attack is a metal-based AoE that deals 70 damage and it gives bleeding to all of the enemy monsters. Bleeding will reduce the enemy's life by 10% for 4 turns for a grand total of 40%, and it reduces their damage output by 20% for 4 turns. Normally I would say that this ultimate would be a lot better if it was special based instead of metal based, but like many metal monsters, Gangsterosaurus actually has a skill that makes all of the enemy monsters magnetized. So if the enemy monsters happen to be magnetized and then he uses his special, that is going to deal massive damage. And you can already tell by his stats that Gangsterosaurus is meant to be a really tanky monster. The thing about tanky monsters is that you can make them attackers or you can make them even more tanky. You can typically run tanky monsters like attackers, so 2 strength runes and a speed rune, or depending where you're at, you can even do 2 strength runes and a life rune, or you can even do 1 strength, 1 life, and 1 speed. So with that being said, this is an extremely good special for this monster. Anyways, in skills group 1 we have Just Business, Minor Mobster Heal, and Multiple Vendetta. And overall, I don't think any of these skills are really worth talking about. Maybe Minor Mobster Heal, I'll come back to this, but first let's move on to skills group 2. So in skills group 2 we have Consigliere Hits, deals heavy special damage. This skill deals 50 damage to a single enemy monster, it costs 28 stamina, and it has no cooldown. So it's a spammable 50 damage special based attack. And what can I say really, it's an extremely vanilla skill. You actually may or may not want to run this skill depending on what other skills you choose. Next up is Respect the Dawn. Deals low metal damage to all enemies, 50% chance of magnetizing all targets, requires cooldown. This skill is an AoE that deals 20 damage to all of the enemy monsters, it costs 33 stamina, and it has a 2-turn cooldown. And you absolutely do not want to run this skill. 50% chance of magnetizing is not good whatsoever. In skills group 3 he has a skill that's 100% chance of magnetizing, so no need to even worry about this skill. His final skills group 2 skill is Big Mobster Heal. Steals life from all targets, requires cooldown. This skill is an AoE that deals 40 damage, it costs 26 stamina, it has a 3-turn cooldown, and it's a life steal 50%. All I can say about this skill is wow. And I say wow because this skill basically tops what other metal monsters do. A lot of metal monsters have a skill that's AoE mag, and then they have a 45 metal based damage AoE. But Gangsterosaurus essentially has that same combo, except with Big Mobster Heal, he's going to be draining 50% of the damage he deals. And on another up note, this only costs 26 stamina. What does that mean? If this monster ever had no stamina, let's say his stamina was drained, and then he had energy regeneration, he recovers 27 stamina, which means he'd be able to use Big Mobster Heal. That's actually pretty impressive, being able to use an AoE after having no stamina and just recovering stamina thanks to energy regeneration. That is amazing. And on top of that, you recover your life, you absolutely need to run Big Mobster Heal. But anyways, moving on to skills group 3, we have Family Business. Deals moderate special damage, may apply damage reduction to target. Family Business targets a single enemy monster, dealing 45 special base damage, it costs 28 stamina, and it has no cooldown. So this is a spammable skill that also gives damage reduction to the enemy monster. And so there are obvious advantages and disadvantages with running Family Business over the skill from skill group 2. So the skills from skills group 2 deals 50 damage, whereas Family Business deals 45 damage, that's 5 less damage. And while that may not seem significant, you never know if those 5 extra points could mean the difference between winning or losing a game. Or maybe winning or losing the game is a bit of exaggeration, but you never know if you just needed that 5 extra damage to knock out the enemy monster. But then taking a look at family business, the fact that you apply damage reduction, that is also going to make it harder for your enemy monster to wipe out your monsters, because they're only going to be dealing 3/4 of the damage they would normally deal. And on top of that, let's say the enemy monster had some sort of buff like double damage. There's quite a few battle monsters that can give themselves double damage. Thanks to damage reduction, you actually get rid of that buff, so that could actually save you in multiple situations. So I'd have to say it really comes down to preference. I would recommend you run family business. Next up is Huge Mobster Heal. Steals life from all targets, requires cooldown. Life steal 50%, AoE, 50 damage, 26 stamina, 3 turn cooldown. Well, again, now one thing I don't understand is how Big Mobster Heal and Huge Mobster Heal, they both do lifesteal 50%, they both cost 26 stamina, and they both only have a 3 turn cooldown, because Huge Mobster Heal is essentially a better version of Big Mobster Heal. It deals 10 more damage, so I don't really understand why it's the exact same stamina cost and the exact same cooldown. So maybe, quite possibly, I'm not 100% sure about this, but maybe one of these skills is going to be switched. I can't say that for certain, but that's a possibility, okay? Nonetheless, I would recommend you run both Big Mobster Heal and Huge Mobster Heal. You know what I said about Big Mobster Heal, it's amazing. The same applies for Huge Mobster Heal, as long as nothing changes, and you should definitely run this skill. It is absolutely amazing. And next up, the skill that makes everything worth possible, Godfather Assault. Deals moderate metal damage to all enemies, may magnetize all targets, requires cooldown. Godfather Assault is your standard metal attacker attack that does an AoE magnetize. This deals 30 damage, costs 35 stamina, has a 3 turn cooldown. AoE magnetize. Magnetize basically makes all metal attacks 50% more effective. So Huge Mobster Heal, you can think of that as 75 damage instead of 50 damage. Big Mobster Heal, you can think of that as 60 damage instead of 40. And this obviously helps you a lot in Team Wars, because normally when you do a metal based attack versus a metal based attack, it's not as effective, but when they're magnetized, it's basically super effective. And this is also why I said I'd come back to Minor Mobster Heal. Minor Mobster Heal deals 30 damage, it costs 25 stamina, and it only has a 1 turn cooldown. And if the enemy monster is magnetized, this is basically like 45 damage, so you may want to consider it, because that's basically the same as Family Business. But I just thought I would include this in the video in case someone was thinking about it. It does have a 1 turn cooldown and it does recover your life, so it may possibly come in handy. But still, I would highly recommend Family Business, because I personally think that could come in handy more often. But anyways, the 4 skills I recommend are Big Mobster Heal, Family Business, Godfather Assault, and Huge Mobster Heal. And like I already mentioned at the beginning of this video, there are multiple ways to set up this monster in terms of runes. You can go with the typical attacker rune setup, 2 strength runes and a speed rune. Like, his life is already pretty tanky, and the fact that he recovers life, he might not need a life rune. If you want to make him extremely tanky though, you could just give him a life rune, a strength, and a speed rune. And maybe if you're a player that has really high level runes, like say level 10 runes, maybe this monster can get away with 1 level 10 strength rune. You give this monster a level 10 strength runes and then 2 speed runes, because the problem with this monster is that he is kind of slow, so other metal monsters would be faster than him. So if you give this monster 2 speed runes and a level 10 strength rune, then thanks to Godfather Assault and Huge Mobster Heal, that could be enough, especially combined with your other monsters' attacks, to wipe out all of the enemy monsters. Seriously, Godfather Assault, 30 damage AoE, and then Huge Mobster Heal essentially being a 75 damage AoE. Even though this monster doesn't have the highest power, the fact that you give this monster a level 10 rune, that is going to help him out immensely. And as far as putting this monster on defense for Team Wars, I really don't think that's a good idea. Maybe the only place I'd put him on defense would be in a Magic Meta War, because he is immune to possession, and in that case I would definitely give this monster a life rune, a high level life rune. I'd probably go with the 1 speed, 1 strength, 1 life rune setup, and then thanks to Big Mobster Heal and Huge Mobster Heal, he's going to be recovering a lot of life and he's going to be extremely tanky, so it might take a while to take him out. And even if the enemy uses Timerion and does cooldowns activated, you'd still be running Family Business, which would be dealing 45 damage and giving damage reduction. So overall, he could be a pretty good monster in the Team Wars for Magic and Metal, but other than that, I don't think he'd be a good choice. And now let's switch from defense to offense. In terms of Team Wars, I really don't think this monster is anything too special. I love that his AoEs recover his life and they are extremely low stamina, but really overall he's nothing too special. He's once again your typical attacker. Well, he's a tanky monster, but he's essentially your typical attacker that sets up the AoE magnetize and then does the strong metal based AoE. It's nice that he has a 50 metal based AoE, and it's nice that he has a 30 damage AoE attack, but you do gotta keep in mind that his power is nowhere near being as high as other metal attackers, and his speed is also nowhere near being as fast as other metal attackers. He does have the nice trait immune to possession, but at the same time there are plenty of metal monsters that have stun skills, so maybe immune to stun could have been better. Again, it's hard to say. In a Team Wars for Magic and Metal, he is a potentially good choice. And anyways, with that being said, that is going to conclude my analysis on Gangsterosaurus. Please let me know what you thought about the video, and also be sure to let me know what do you think about this monster. Do you think he's good? Do you think he's not so good? How do you think he compares to other metal legendary monsters? And also be sure to let me know whether or not you're going to be getting this monster. I'm really curious to know what all of you have to say. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Remember to dream big and pursue your passions.